She's just exploring down at my feet. She might sit up on her little sofa, she might not. Let's hope she's not too disturbing today. I am sipping on some tea. This is just a green tea from Alex, using one of my favourite little sets. I've got a little guy one, a little fairness jug, which is where I've put my brewed tea so it doesn't over steep, and then we've got two of these little cups. But anyway, I just love using it. And yeah, so I guess let's begin. I am wearing my Boscula today. I knit it with 3/4 length sleeves. This is a pattern by Marina Skewer, who also has a wonderful podcast that I would highly recommend. I really enjoy watching Marina, as she explains a lot about what she's doing, as well as it being quite relaxing and informative. Okay, little Audrey bumping me in my head. Leg. She's yeah, I knitted this using the yarn that we had spun locally, with wool that was local, so from fleeces that were about 15 miles away at a push. Some of them were only 10 miles away, and yeah, I love this wool. It is a blend of Jacob fleece, which happens to be one of my sort of favourite staple yarns, and Valet Black Nose, which is quite rare in the UK, a little bit like a tiny Wensleydale, or like a bit like a mohair. So as you can imagine, if you've been here a while, I'm a sucker for them. They have cute little black faces too. But I guess I'll start by sharing my first project. This one is undyed. This is just blended, so it has a bit of the dark Jacob fleece in the darker grey and just a like 5% in the lighter grey. But I did recently take a cream skein. So this is the same yarn, 50% Jacob and 50% Valet. And I wanted to see how it would take to acid dye. I would like to do the same with natural dye, but I haven't done that just yet. I think I'm going to get the assistance of Alex when that happens. And I dyed up this red, and I couldn't be happier with how it came out, to be honest. The colour is absolutely beautiful. I used, I think it's Jacquard dyes, and I used the flame red colourway and just a hint of sky blue. I did make I pre-prepared a colour, a blend, mixed it up first, and then I added sort of a really pale sky blue wash over the top to give a bit of richness. So if you ever want to get a colour like this yourself, you might be able to, with a bit of experimenting with those two colours. And yeah, so I cast on a Rizzo top, which is a pattern by Amy Appel. I really love Amy's sort of style. It's like a bit like how I used to dress, a bit more playfully than maybe I used to dress. I quite liked sort of more subdued, slightly earlier 40s, but Amy is playful and creates these gorgeous vintage style designs that have a really nice fit. I really love the shaping that Amy uses and the techniques Amy uses, and I have finished it. I have not blocked it, so we'll see what it I'm excited to see what it looks like once it's blocked. But you know, I've got a finished object and not loads. I have some other projects, but not loads of knitting, so I thought I would show it to you. You can see this will open up and become a little bit more beautiful once it is blocked, as will the sleeves. I should put it on really, but it's warm, but it's not that warm as I'm wearing a jumper today. Yeah, so this is my Rizzo, and I did a swatch having used the same needles that I used previously, and kind of thought I needed to go down, and I did. I think I just relax a little bit more after I've cast on. Tighten up a little bit. I kind of get a little bit evener, so this is something that I can remember going forward. since this at the top is slightly larger gauge than as I moved down, and the seed stitch may play a part, but it didn't in the back. So, and that was done first, so I'm not sure, but it does fit me really nicely. In fact, it fits a little bit at the moment, a little bit tighter, and that makes sense because my previous version was knitted using a merino singles that it just opens up, given the nature of the superwash and the silkiness, it kind of opens up a little bit more as you wear it and as you wash it. And I think this will open and it will be a little bit, but it will fit me maybe a little bit nicer over a longer period of time, which is really exciting for me personally. And yeah, overall, really enjoyed this pattern. It is a bit clever with the construction. There are tops very similar, but you cast on the shoulders, and then you cast on the front, and you work the fronts and back and forth until you divide for the sleeves, and then you knit down. The sleeves are little Katt sleeves, which are actually shaped as you go, which I think's amazing, because then it means you're just picking up for the ribbing and you're done. If you wanted to, I think this would be really cute with a, like I said, a 3/4 length sleeve. If you wanted something slightly warmer and kitscher, I realised that it goes very nicely with my blondie cardigan. Oh, you sweetheart. She's found a beanbag. Oh. Oh no, she's gone. And you coming here? You coming up? Nope. She's like pawed me and then left. Okay. Yeah, I think it would look really nice with 3/4 length sleeves, but it goes with my blondie cardigan quite well, which is another pattern of Amy's that I've knitted in the past using beehive yarns in the Raven Red, which is kind of similar. So I think I'll be able to layer that with this if I ever really want to go full vintage and almost not twin set, because they're slightly different, but that sort of style. Yeah, really happy with this. It was a very speedy knit, considering I did end up going down to 3mm, I think, for the needles, but highly recommend if you want something slightly interesting that isn't too difficult. Like it's straightforward. Amy gives you enough information, but you know, you've got a little bit of interest with the seed stitch and the yarn overs, but it's quite relaxing, I would say. But yeah, really happy. Hopefully I can show you this next time blocked and finished and fitted well, but for now, there she is. And what I was going to say, just while I'm here, is I'm thinking eventually this would make a gorgeous pair of mittens, or my elf slippers that I knitted myself. I might make a pair for Alex. He keeps wearing my ones, so whether this becomes for me or these become for him, it doesn't matter, but I think this is where this bit's gonna go to. I love the contrast. It could also make a fabulous pair of mittens, which would probably be gifted because I do have some lovely mittens at the moment, and I've got an idea in my head for some. I guess while we're talking about it, now this is a shame because there's none left in our little Ko-Fi shop, but I did manage to keep 2 skeins of the 100% ballet for myself, and I just wanted to share the colour that I got. So when I finished dyeing this lovely red, I decided that I would absolutely use every last drop, and I added more of the sky blue, and this was the colour that I achieved, and I think it's absolutely gorgeous. I need to decide what this is going to be, and if you have any recommendations for sort of 500-600 metre projects, I'm thinking maybe a little shawl or another top. I mean, it would make a fabulous ranunculus, but I absolutely don't need another ranunculus yet. I'm all ears. Yay! yeah, this one living in this happy bag, I'm still as excited as I am about, but I probably reckon I could have had this finished if my hands didn't hurt as much as they did. And it's fine. I'm actually not upset because it's sort of dragging out, eking out the process. I'm getting it a little bit longer. So these are the two yarns, and it did get a lot of love when I showed it the first time. So this is by Twisted Squirrel up in Scotland, and this is the colour Wild Mother. And this is a really messy cake of undyed yak. She's now rolling around in our welcome mat. Audrey, love, calm down, honey. And I'm knitting the elf male, which is my second version of this, and it's just as fun, and the texture is just something else. And I think the combination of a beautifully hand-painted yarn with a yak is the perfect combination for this. I love non-superwash yarn. This is where my heart lays, is with 100% wool or interesting other fibres. But I will make an exception when it comes out this beautifully. So this is the texture. It is a top-down raglan, a very simple construction with what I consider to be one of the more beautiful, actually, decorative techniques used. And I have started, I've got 2 sleeves on the go. I'm going to do them sort of bit by bit as I go, because I have divided, roughly I did it by kind of guessing, as my hands weren't able to do anything else. I divided them into 2 by hand while I was away. And I'm going to, this time, not do the shaping. I'm going to go straight down without any decreases, and whether I do a few quick rounds of increase to take it out or not, I'm not decided yet, to give almost like a bishopy bell, very gentle one, and then some ribbing at the end to really cinch it in. I'm still deciding, but I think it would be really cute. It would give that mermaid elf, sea elf, like river dwelling elf kind of vibes, which I am really quite here for. So yeah, I haven't quite decided, but I figured I'd do the sleeves bit by bit as I go, and it was kind of nice to mess around with cables and just still get to play on the knitting whilst sadly not fully knitting. Yeah, really happy with it so far. It knits up so gently and almost mindfully, mindlessly. It's I'm using 3.5mm needles, which to me on this sort of project, this size, when the cables fit so nicely, I've got a 16-inch cable on my sleeve. It's just moorish. It's not difficult, it's not complicated. It's almost like having a comfortable sock to knit. It's like almost knitting a hat, but you're getting, I think, a truly beautiful garment from it. And I do implore you, if you would like to knit it, because it is stunning. I did think about doing the short rows in the stitch, the textured stitch. However, I don't actually mind it. I thought that it might bother me in my last one, but it didn't. So I wasn't fussed about adjusting it. But that's something that you could do if you wanted. And this, yeah, I just really enjoy it. I can't remember much about the sizing, but I think it's quite inclusive. I think there's quite a few different sizes on offer. I think I am knitting the second from smallest this time. I think that's what I did last time, and I know it grows just a little bit, enough for it to fit. Quite fitted whilst not being constrictive. It's not got negative ease, it just fits really well. So yeah, I am really excited by this. I am hoping that my hands give me a little bit of a respite and let me do a few rows on this evening. yeah. Right. I don't really have much on this one, but I thought I'd quickly just update. I am still working on my Annabelle Williams socks. These are undyed. I think it's a Corriedale base. I think it's 100%. I have 1 and 2 on the go. Got 1 on DPNs and 1 on Magic Loop. This one I was working on just while chatting before my hands gave in, whilst we were brewing some tea in Scotland. And it feels amazing, I've got to say. It's a really nice feeling yarn. It feels quite sturdy while still being a bit creamy. 100% wool, there's no nylon in here, no superwash in sight. And what the plan with this is to try a new to me heel, which I'm about to decide. I think I'm going to spend a little bit of time looking on. There's a particular website I saw way back when that has about 15 different heels, so I'll try and remember to share that. And I'm going to just choose one, or I might look through the 52 Weeks of Socks book and decide and take one from there. And then what I was going to maybe do is do it very plain until the top and do some decorative feature around the cuff and get Alex to naturally dye them, whether he does them ombre or tries to do speckling or whatever. But I thought it would be fun for Alex to dye me some socks after the fact of knitting, just, you know, fun. Let's put this in. I made this tiny little, very rough DPN case a long time ago. Well, not a long time ago now, but a little while ago, using some scraps from my knitting machine, fair oil practice, and an old napkin and some buttons. So it just keeps it nice and tidy in my bag, and I don't lose any DPNs. And then finally, in terms of knitting, living in this gorgeous bag. I share it every time just because it's so fun. These colours, I think they've inspired quite a bit of my knitting lately. And I have my Whistle Bear badge on there. It's been on there basically since this arrived actually, but we'll talk a bit about Whistle Bear again in a second. And it is my the coziest memories blanket, which Alex has now done a full square of in parts. And I'll just give you, I think this top row is where we have added. Like I said, I didn't get to do too much because my hands hurt, and actually I think this was one of the more gentle ones on my hands, but I kept forgetting to take it out of the car because it's quite a big bag. We were sort of travelling and we did a few different places. Kind of, you know, you don't want to be lugging too much around. So this wasn't the project of choice, but maybe it should have been. And I should have just taken this and a few other bits out. But it's knitting out really nicely. This last one that I used was a Woolen Witch sub club, where she sends a stitch marker and a mini skein. I think you can just get the stitch marker too, and they are beautiful wooden stitch markers. Yeah, I'm really enjoying this still. It's a very relaxing project. If you asked after something for using up bits, I think you could easily do this in any weight. So if you had loads of fingering weight yarn left but you actually wanted to do it in DK, I think that would be perfectly sensible too. It would be thicker, it would be denser, a heavier blanket. But I'm really enjoying using, I think it's 3.25mm needles, and fingering weight is giving a nice drapey. And it shouldn't be really, really heavy, which is kind of what we were going for, since those that this is going to do have a fire in their living room. We thought maybe it's probably more useful for the bed, which is why we're going to add a bit more. But yeah, really fun, simple project if you're looking for a blanket that you can build up as you go. I have, or had, started weaving in the ends as I go, and I am going to do a few more. Maybe that's something I can do while my hands are still feeling a little bit weird, It's a really weird thing to talk about, and it's quite obvious how much I use my hands now and how much I enjoy running my hands under hot water. It can only be cold water at the moment, which doesn't feel so nice. But yeah, that's that project, and I'm quite enjoying putting a bit more time into it over the next few weeks. Ooh, I'm gonna hit pause. I've been talking quite a bit, didn't realise. So finally, I'll tell you a little bit about the first part of our trip. So we did end up going to visit Alex's parents, which was really lovely. We had brunch in Newcastle before we headed up to Whistlebear. We went to visit the goats. Whistlebear is in North Berwick, or just outside Berwick upon Tweed. It's a beautiful place. I've got a whole video talking about when I went to help shear the sheep. The goats. Alice gets the sheep sheared by someone else, but she does all the goats herself, and I volunteered to go and give her a helping hand, which was an amazing experience. And yes, I'm very grateful for it. And as you'll see, the goats are still just as cute as they ever were. Alex hadn't met them before and was also very smitten. We got to feed a couple of the kids who are being bottle fed at the moment, and it's amazing how clever they are and how quickly they understand. Alice just said, "Bottlies, come here," and they came running to the gate, and obviously a few cheeky ones that wanted a bit of extra food came to the gate too. But yeah, it was a lovely experience. And other than when we got out of the car the very first time, it didn't rain. It torrentially poured on us and we were soaked through, but other than that it did not rain. So that was nice. I did also get to pick up yarn for a project that I'm hoping to take a few things, clear them off my needles. Like I often say, I don't like having too much on the go. I have a shawl that I'm working on. I think I've got a couple of other bits, and the shawl I think needs to become a bit more of a priority. And then once that's further along and the elf mail is done, I'm going to cast on with this. And this is Deep in the Forest, which I guess is like my In the Dark Dark Woods, which is a colour I love on the Evering Bell base, but this is on the Cheviot Marsh base, and it's in an Aran weight, and oh man, I love it. So it's 100% lambswool and a blend of Romney Marsh, Romney and Cheviot that are reared in the Cheviot Hills. And so I'm hoping to do one out of this, which was the winter 2020, I think, Pom Pom magazine. I'm hoping, let's find it, I can show you the pattern page. So this is A Field by Fiona Alice, and I just think it's a beautiful cardigan that I often talk about, having a cardigan to go with sort of band t-shirts and dresses that's a bit comfy cozy, and I think this is the perfect one for me. It's got a bit of interest, it's got quite a lot of texture without being too kind of busy, which is something that I often go on about. I don't know why. But yeah, I'm really excited to cast this on. I think it's going to be a wonderful pairing. The Cheviot Marsh really gives a great stitch definition, and that texture in particular I think is going to work beautifully. So yeah, once my hands are a bit better, and the projects are slightly more cleared off my needles, that's something kind of saving. I almost think it should be saved until autumn, but the way the weather is at the moment, it almost feels like autumn anyway, you know, so we'll just see. I'm taking it as it goes, but I'm quite excited that I have that project to look forward to. Yeah, we also, when we went up we stopped at a place called Comrie Croft, which is somewhere we've stayed before. We camped there previously. This time the weather was apparently going to be torrential rain, so we did actually, for the first time, book a bunk room, and it was really nice that we did that. We got to have a shower when we wanted, and even though it actually didn't rain whilst we were out and about, it did rain at night, so we kind of got really lucky in that regard. Yeah, we did a bit of mountain biking, which was really fun. Really unexpected. Alex hired an e-bike for me, just because he wasn't convinced that I would enjoy it without it, and I think I probably would have, because I got to use his bike for sort of half an hour at the end, because he wanted to try the e-bike and he really enjoyed it too. But I had a lot of fun. I understand why people do it, but I also understand that it's terrifying, and the runs are sort of sorted like a skiing run, so you've got red, blue, black, or those sort. But yeah, I would not be doing anything harder than just the happy little blue ones that I did, and the rocky bit's not so fun for me. It was fine, like I would happily do it again, but the flowy bits in like the dirt was really nice, and seeing the views up high around Comrie and then coming down through the woods was just magic, and 100% would love to go back and maybe do a bit more elsewhere. And then we also did a walk. We bagged another Monroe, which was really fun. We did one called Ben Chonzi. I think that's how it was pronounced. And maybe we'll talk again about this with Alex, but in a nutshell, we kind of went on our bike ride. We spent a good few hours. I think Alex covered over 16 kilometres, going a lot of it uphill. So 8 kilometres would have been going like vertically uphill, without the support of an e-bike for quite a bit of it. So we did that, and I'd said the night before it would be really nice to do a walk, maybe do a Ben, and we found one. And some of the main review or discussion about it that we saw kind of said, oh, it's quite a relaxing one, it's quite boring, and we didn't quite believe that it would be boring, but we thought it'd be a nice gentle walk. It did say, can't remember how long it said, but anyway, it did take us almost 6 hours. We did initially stop a lot for spotting creatures and animals. We saw loads of sheep, which was obviously fun for me. There was everything from dung beetles to different kinds of birds. I think there was even a song thrush hanging out. It was beautiful. It's probably still one of the best walks we've ever done. But we did only think it was going to be a couple of hours, so we only had, I think I had 500 ml of water, Alex had 750 ml. We had one treat, like a date bar between us, and it did turn out to be a really long walk, and we were kind of unprepared for that, but it was still spectacular. We went up the Ben, and then there was another much smaller but still quite intense hill / Monroe. Didn't quite class as it, but it should have been. It shouldn't, it was not tall enough. But we ended up walking around this huge lock and doing an extra wiggle that was kind of unmarked but was marked. And yeah, it was really long but amazing. Alex saw some grouse. I saw them too, but Alex got some beautiful footage that hopefully I'll share with you. Yeah, we had a lot of fun. We didn't get rained on until the last hour, which was again a real touch, because if we'd have got a third of the way into it and it started raining, I think we would have both enjoyed it a lot less. And we also I got my first proper view from being that elevated. Usually wherever we go, and it's not a bad thing, it's fine, it's just almost funny at this point, but we always just get a white out. We can't see anything from any of the heights. So I've been up Snowdon maybe 4 times and I've never seen anything. I've been up Ben Nevis, can't see anything. Scarfell Pike, nothing. But finally I got a really nice view and I couldn't have asked for a better walk. So if you're ever in that area, Ben Chonsey is wonderful. I think it's Perthshire. If you're in that area, it's a really nice walk. But take a bit more water, definitely take some food, some oatcakes, and enjoy them, because it's a bit, the route we did anyway, I think there's 2 routes, and maybe we did the more off-piste route because we only saw 2 other people and they went in a completely different direction to us. Yeah, so yeah, anyway, I had a really nice time. I'm really grateful, actually. We felt like we've had a few a bit of time off in the last sort of 6 months, but we haven't had a full week, and we've not had it quite as actively outdoors, and that just felt so good, like so good. And whilst we're really busy, both of us aside, like we almost felt like we couldn't justify going because we've got so much on and life's a bit intense. We've had some real problems with cars and all sorts, like things just going wrong. So we kind of but it was almost perfectly timed for it, because hopefully we both feel a bit more refreshed. We've got a bit of catching up to do, but to be outdoors and to appreciate and experience was just magic. So yes, I hope that you're well. I hope that whatever you're up to this week, you get some enjoyment from it, a little bit of calm maybe even some fun. If you're casting on anything, always feel free to share. It's really nice to know what's being knitted whilst I'm sat here waffling away. I am still on the first episode of Exandria Unlimited, so hopefully maybe tomorrow I'll get to listen to a little bit more, finish the first episode, and then play a bit more catch up. I've heard some really good things from it, and I really can't wait to meet the characters. If you're watching again, let me know what you think of it. And yeah, keep well, keep safe, stay hydrated, eat good food that makes you feel good and happy, and enjoy making some things that make you feel good too. Whatever you're up to, I hope to see you again very soon, hopefully with my lovely husband sharing what he's knitting. And yeah, don't forget to love each other.
How was it?
Yeah, that was well fun.
I wonder how long he'll keep this up for.
Oh, the whole way.